What if I told you that just a few decades ago, Japan was barely a blip on the global football radar? I mean, seriously, they were practically non-existent on the world stage. Well, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the absolute greatest underdog stories in the history of sports, the meteoric rise of Japanese football. We're going to look at the vision, the struggles, and the brilliant master plan that took a nation from the absolute fringes of the sport all the way to the main stage. Which really begs the question, right? How exactly did Japan become World Cup giants? How does a nation go from being barely known in the sport to suddenly shocking some of the most established global powerhouses? It's a fascinating journey of strategy, dedication, and just relentless hard work. Okay, let's dive into this. Decades ago, Japan was virtually unknown in world football. They were barely a footnote in major international conversations. But fast forward to today, they are widely respected and frankly a little feared globally as the giant killers of the World Cup. It's an absolute night and day transformation. To understand how they bridged this massive gap, we have to go back to where it all started. All right, Section 1, the early years. If we really want to unpack Japan football history, you have to realize that for the longest time, baseball was the undisputed king. Baseball was everything. Football really struggled to gain any serious national attention. It was basically this niche sport introduced way back in the late 1800s by British sailors and teachers, and it was mostly just played in schools and universities. In 1921, they founded the Japan Football Association to try and organize the game locally. But on the world stage, yeah, they were still miles behind Europe and South America. But as Japan rebuilt its economy after World War II, the sport finally began to grow. The major breakthrough, that actually came in 1968. Japan totally shocked everyone by winning the Olympic bronze medal in Mexico City. It was their first major international football achievement, and it just ignited a whole new generation. But here was the massive roadblock. The domestic game in Japan was entirely amateur. Imagine this, you're clocking out of your desk job at 5 p.m. just to go try and compete against the world's best athletes. Most clubs were owned by corporations, meaning the players were literally working regular full-time company jobs alongside playing football. The goal was to compete globally, but Japan's leadership quickly realized something crucial. You simply cannot fight global heavyweights with part-time players. A complete from-the-ground-up structural revolution was needed. Which brings us to Section 2, the birth of the J.League. This was the ultimate turning point, the real catalyst that changed the sport over there forever. In 1993, Japan officially launched the J.League, their very first fully professional football league. And man, the energy during this era was absolutely electric. Practically overnight, stadiums were just packed with incredibly passionate fans. Youth academies began popping up and expanding rapidly across the nation. Football became one of Japan's fastest-growing sports, providing that critical, professional foundation they desperately needed. Now, what's really interesting here is how they accelerated that growth. They didn't just sit back and rely purely on domestic talent. No, they brought in massive international legends. We're talking icons like Brazil's Zico, England's Gary Lineker, and Germany's Pierre Littbarski. You have to imagine the crazy culture shock for these guys, trading traditional European cathedrals of football for the newly minted J.League. But it worked. These global stars immediately elevated the quality of the domestic game, brought in worldwide media attention, and served as incredible inspiration for the local youth talent coming up through the ranks. Moving right along, Section 3, World Cup Dreams. Let's move to how this builds, because with a thriving professional league finally in place, Japan set their sights on the ultimate dream, actually proving themselves on the global stage. Step 1 happened in 1998, when Japan qualified for their very first World Cup in France. Sure, they lost all 3 matches, but honestly, just being there was a historic milestone. Then, Step 2. In 2002, playing in front of their home fans as co-hosts, Japan stunned the world by reaching the round of 16. It was undeniable proof that they finally belonged. And Step 3 shows the ultimate payoff of their infrastructure, consistent qualification. They literally haven't missed a FIFA World Cup since. All right, Section 4, the Samurai Blue. As Japan solidified its place in global football, they didn't just show up to participate. They developed a highly distinct, recognizable identity. Known all over the globe as the Samurai Blue, they became defined by a few key traits: lightning-quick passing, incredible technical skill, unwavering discipline, seamless teamwork, and an absolutely relentless work ethic. When you watch the Samurai Blue play, you're watching a team that operates as a single, highly coordinated machine. It's this deeply ingrained philosophy that sets them apart from everyone else and makes them so incredibly frustrating to play against. And of course, this disciplined style didn't just stay isolated in Japan. Homegrown international stars like Hidetoshi Nakata, Shunsuke Nakamura, Keisuke Honda, Shinji Kagawa, and Takumi Minamino became true global icons. These players took Japan's technical brilliance and showcased it on Europe's biggest stages: the English Premier League, Germany's Bundesliga, Spain's La Liga, Italy's Serie A. Their success abroad brought invaluable elite experience back to the national team, making the Samurai Blues stronger and more dangerous than ever before. And that leads us to Section 5, shocking the football world. All of this history, the professionalization, the European experience, it all culminated in a dramatic climax at the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Now, the expectation in 2022 was that Japan faced impossible odds in their group. People literally wrote them off. But the reality? They pulled off stunning, historic victories over former world champions Germany and Spain. Experts considered it practically impossible, but this brilliantly illustrates how their tactical discipline and absolute determination helps them completely dismantle traditional football superpowers. The Samurai Blue had officially cemented their status as true giant killers. So the crucial point here, the big takeaway for us, is that this incredible rise wasn't built on luck, not even a little bit. Whether you're looking at sports, your own business, or personal goals, this is an absolute masterclass in long-term strategy. It was built on vision, heavy investment, unwavering discipline, and decades of relentless hard work. The J.League, the youth academies, the tactical identity, it was all a methodically executed success story, showing exactly what happens when you stick to a long-term plan and see it all the way through to the end. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly exciting thought. Today, Japan isn't just showing up to participate in World Cups anymore. They are actively aiming to win them. With their incredible pipeline of young, highly technical talent currently playing at the highest levels across the globe, I want to ask you, can Japan actually win the FIFA World Cup in the future? It's a bold, provocative question, for sure. But given their track record of constantly defying the odds, it's a dream that might not be as far away as we think. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep your eyes on the Samurai Blue, and as always, keep learning.